What's up, everybody? Ryan Scully here. Today we're going to be doing a video tutorial on an app which I find to be an absolute game changer if you're a media composer working with your DAW and virtual instruments, and that is Lemur for iOS. Years ago, Lemur was available as a hardware unit through Jazzmutant. Fast forward to today, and our friends at Line have provided it at an extremely affordable entry point as an iOS app, retailing for $50 through the App Store. Now, with Lemur through the iPad or iPhone or anything that supports iOS, you can use the functions on Lemur to control any multitude of features on your DAW, as well as what we're going to look at today, features on your virtual instruments, particularly with Contact. So what I want to do and really kind of achieve here today is just to show you, even at its most basic level, how powerful Lemur is and how in just a very short amount of time you can get a template up and running to really help increase your efficiency and productivity in your DAW. Just a couple of quick notes before we begin about what we're going to be looking at today. Number one, if you're watching this video, I'd assume that A, you have Lemur or, are obviously looking to purchase it, but I'll assume that you've already managed to secure a connection between your iPad and your computer. The reason I say that is because everybody's setup is different, depending you're on PC or OS X. And some people are going to have a pretty smooth connection going to it, and some people can have a little bit more difficulty from what I've found. There's very clear instructions when you do purchase the Lemur app as to how to set it up, and there's also some video tutorials on their website for that. Me in particular, I'm controlling Lemur and connecting it with my computer via Wi-Fi, which is a really smooth and seamless. I've never had any issues with it. If you're not going to connect via Wi-Fi, you will need a docking mechanism or some way in which you can connect your iPad to the computer via USB. For a docking mechanism, there's products out there like the Alesis IO dock. Behringer also has one. And if you don't want to get a docking system, I've heard that the camera connection kit for the iPad also works as a way to run it through USB, although I've not had any experience with that. And just one final quick note on this video. For this particular tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to build this template and connect it and communicate it with Cubase, which is my preferred DAW. If you work with another DAW, the principles I'm going to be showing you as to how I build this template could easily be translated to whichever DAW you use. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is all these functions and commands we're going to add into this template are going to be communicating with Cubase via CC, MIDI CC. So in your own particular DAW, however that DAW manages to add hardware controllers or additional control surfaces and how you would program them would be pretty much the same idea. It's just like I said, in particular, we're going to be taking a look at Cubase in this example. For this particular template, I'm going to divide it into two halves for this video. For the first piece, I've selected just a couple of random DAW commands that are probably all basic functionality for us that we're going to go ahead and program into the template. And then for the second half, I'm going to show you how you can use Lemur to correspond to your virtual instruments or contact instruments in this case, using MIDI faders and my absolute personal favorite, which would be visual key switching. So I'm going to lay this out as simple and as efficiently as possible so that it just makes sense and you could just see how easy and quickly you can get this up and running. And also, just to make this simple, as we're going through and creating objects here, everything that I'm going to be putting into this template is going to be transmitting on Lemur Daemon Channel 1. So that's basically like MIDI Channel 1 for Lemur, which you have like your whole range of 1 to 127 functions you could program into that entire range for Channel 1. So everything we're going to do is going to be transmitting on that MIDI target 1. So, and I'll show you exactly what that looks like when we start building objects and naming them in the corners over here. So to get started, what we're looking at right here is the Lemur editor page. So everything I'm going to do on here is an exact mirror image of what you're going to see on your iPad. And I actually have it set up to sync right now, so when we start building some faders and whatnot, you'll see them moving along in real time. So I apologize I don't have a video overhead kind of deal set up so you could see my hand and how it's moving on it, but just so I can let you know ahead of time, everything you see on here is just an exact mirror image of what's going on the iPad. All right, so let's get started. So the very first thing, and this will make more sense to you as we start adding to the page here, that I always want to do when I'm starting with a blank page like this is we're going to bring what's called a container. Here's all of your buttons that you can bring into your template that you can work with. And as you can see, there's tons. And we're just going to be using just some basic custom buttons, containers, and faders. And that's all we're really going to need to get started here. So first thing we want to do is I want to bring a container onto my screen here and just click and drag, let go. It's going to create this little square and drag it so that it extends to the range of your page, which you can see has just got this outline on the back here. Just bring that down. The good thing is when you move, it has like a pretty handy snap to grid type of feature. So even though you're moving pretty freely, you can get to where you need to be pretty quickly when you have to resize objects. So we've created a container here. Now the way containers work in Lemur, it's exactly as you would think. It's just an area for you to store objects. One of the great and powerful things about Lemur is that on any one page, you can create multiple containers, so you can have pretty much different boxes of items for different things. So, and we'll see exactly, how that's going to formulate when we get started. So here's our initial container, so our main page. So if we're talking DAW commands, why don't we just get started and do something very simple, such as build the transport section at the bottom. And then also I'm going to put a click and a snap to grid button, which we all know is one of the most frequently used commands in Cubase. So go ahead and just take a look at what I'm going to do here. So all I did right there was just grab the custom button from the palette over here and drag it onto the template, and then I just did Control C, Control V to copy and paste it 8 times. So I had pretty much 8 identical objects, and then I just stretched this last one out so we take full advantage of our screen real estate here. So what we're going to do is just click on each one of these and then just program them with the applicable control change message that we're going to use with Cubase, and set this up to use as our transport. This will be our click, and then this will be the snap feature. Okay, so as I'm just going to walk you through each one, I'm going to show you how to program it on this side, so it all makes sense, and pretty much how to set up your MIDI target and behaviors. So just go ahead and take a look at what I'm going to be doing as I click on each one of these on this side. All right, so I'm going to walk you through how to basically just set up the first 2 here, and then we'll just skip ahead to the end because I'm going to pretty much be doing the same operations just sequentially as we move along. But the main thing I want to show you is just how this is going to work as far as programming the messages as to what you want them to do when we make it correspond with Cubase later. So for this first button here, this is going to be our play button, and then followed by stop, and then all the way to the end here. So for the first one, we're going to be transmitting this via MIDI CC, and like I said up front, all commands we're going to be doing are going to correlate to MIDI channel 1. So for your object target up here, it's set to MIDI. You're going to choose MIDI 1 for both. For the type of message, right now it's set to note on. You're going to want to change that to control change for MIDI CC, and the controller value that I'm going to use for play is 115. No real rhyme or reason for that. It's just what I decided to use. So you're going to have 115, and then I'm just sequentially going to go up 116, 117, so on, until we get to the end of snap right there. So down here is where you have the option to select how you want the behaviors and the properties for each individual object. So first, let's just go to the behavior tab. And right now the mode is set to switch. Let's just go ahead and change it to pad. And then under properties here, you have lots of different options for as far as appearance goes, text, and sizing. Just for this tutorial, we're not going to go crazy to make everything symmetrically correct, just in the interest of time, just so we can lay this down just to show you, the ease of use for putting this together. So as far as the style on and off, depending on what type of behavior you have for your object, it could be in an on or off position. So you have the options to have text reflect, what it looks like when the button is on or off, and the same goes for color. So one of the nice things they have here, since we're doing transport control, is we're just going to go down and select just our generic play command. So we'll have that reflected as both on and off. And then we'll just go ahead and, we'll just change the color for the hell of it. So we'll change that to that color blue, same color, and it's on and off position. And there you have it, really. We just set up. So once we get this into our controller in Cubase, we'll program it so that it corresponds exactly to everything that we have going on in here, and it'll work flawlessly fine. So that was play. So I'll just show you again, just doing one more. We'll do stop. So again, remember we got to change the MIDI target to 1. We're going to set the message up to CC for control change. And since this was 115, we'll make this correspond to CC 116. So you just have to type it in once in the box here. And click off, it carries over. Behavior, we're going to change it from switch to pad. And in the properties tab, we'll just go ahead and find stop, which is right there. And then what do you say we just make this, I don't know, yellow, doesn't matter. So, and just to note, as like I said, everything I'm doing on here, I see this on my iPad right now, and it's just all changing in real time, just so you can have a base of reference right there. So we got our everything set up for these first 2 buttons. I'm just going to go ahead and assign and program these, and I won't make you guys wade through each one of them that I'm doing, so we'll just skip ahead to the end of that. All right, so our transport's done. So you see we have play, stop, record, rewind, fast forward, cycle. I put a button there for our metronome click, and then a button for snap to grid. So as you see, I'll just click through each one of these. All the behaviors and MIDI assignments that we talked about earlier, they're just corresponding, as you see, as I scroll through each one. So you see, very simple to set up. And once we get into Cubase, we'll make a generic controller object where these correspond to each of those. So next thing we're going to do is just work a little bit more with our template here to create another container within this container so we can have multiple selectable objects. So we're still working on our DAW controls right now. So what I'm going to do, and if this doesn't immediately make sense, it will once we're done. So let me grab another container and bring it in here. So grab the container, we're going to bring it and roughly put it to just about here. We're going to pull this down. Now in this space that I'm creating for this particular container, we're going to add some additional DAW controls like zoom in, zoom out, select up, down, left, right, and also just to the ability to add different types of tracks. Just some simple commands I chose for this tutorial. So let's bring it out to just about here, I'd say. So now one of the amazing things about using containers in Lemur is that with one particular container, you can make it what's called tabbed, so you can have multiple selectable objects within the same space. So watch what we're going to do here. Just right click within this container. You're going to make it to go make tabbed. So right now it just reads as default. So let's just bring the whole object up so we're not impeding on our transport control. And right now it says default. So if you see over in this corner, this is pretty much your menu of everything that you're adding to your template. So let's click on default. And the name appears here. We don't have to do anything as far as MIDI targets or anything with a container, but we are going to rename this to let's say we'll call it DAW control. Okay, so it's going to change the name right up there. And just so this makes sense and you could see kind of where we're headed, let's right click and we're going to choose add tab. And we're going to call that the additional tab MIDI faders, which are going to go ahead and correspond once we add the virtual instruments in on this side. So, but for right now, let's focus on DAW control. And here, I'm just going to build some additional objects so that we can assign them to controls when we move on over into Cubase. All right, so I just went ahead and added some simple additional controls into our DAW control menu within this container, and just aptly named them. Everything I did in here is exactly how I set these up down here. So as you can see, I added buttons, command buttons for audio track, and these are all again going to MIDI target 1, just like we said. They're assigned to CC control and CC 104, and I'm just running those down sequentially. Again, no rhyme or reason to why I'm choosing those CCs. They're just open and available. So for each one of these, as you can see on the left, corresponding, you know, all the MIDI CCs are changing based upon that particular assignment. So I've created objects for each of these, audio, MIDI, and instrument tracks. I added open editor and then open mixer control. And then down here, I have just simple, you know, move up, move down, left, right, zoom in vertical, zoom out vertical, and then just simple zoom in and zoom out. So like I said, this is far from symmetrically correct and when everything kind of comes together, but I just wanted to just add a couple controls just so you could see how to do it in Cubase to correspond with Lemur. So again, just looking at the container, right now we're looking at DAW control. So if I go ahead and just click on MIDI fader, you see you have a completely empty container now. So when we put our MIDI faders in here that are going to correspond with contact, you have this whole extra bit of real estate to work in because we're able to make a tabbed container in Lemur, which is just absolutely awesome. And I'll show you my completed template that I use personally at the end of the tutorial, just so you could see how deep you can go from that level. So now we're just going to go ahead and head into Cubase and set up our generic remote to correspond to what we've already built here. All right, so let's go to Cubase. Okay, hello Cubase. So here we are over in the sequencer. So now what we're going to do is build a new generic remote in our devices section. And for those of us that have Cubase and are familiar, it would basically, you know, just like if we're adding a new MIDI keyboard or control surface or what have you to handle any types of operations within Cubase, we're just going to do that to correspond to the iPad with Lemur. It's going to be, and it's very simple. There's some tediousness to this portion of it, but you only have to do it once, and once you're all set, you're good to go. So first things first, let's create a brand new generic remote. So let's go to add a device. Let's go and find our generic remote there. So now we have a, you know, an empty generic remote, and I actually just tested this before, so it's still set up as MIDI input and output. So just like we did when we were building our template in Lemur, you want to select daemon input 1 or MIDI channel 1, because that's what we use to assign all of our controls to. So for MIDI input and output, you're going to do daemon input 1, daemon output 1. And here's where we're going to just add all of those controls that we did for our DAW to correspond with Lemur. So what I did was just on a pen and paper, I just wrote down on a pad everything that we did in Lemur, so I can just go ahead and start inputting these. So I'll do the first few for you on the transport, just so you can see, if you've never done this before, how to go ahead and create commands on your generic remote. So for the first one here, We're going to name it start, as in play, you know, on our transport. MIDI status, you're just going to leave as controller. MIDI channel, everything we're going to add is going to go to MIDI channel 1. And then address is your MIDI CC. So remember, for our start, stop, or play, we started with CC 115. So just type in 115. Now, once you add it in up here, these are going to be your corresponding pieces for which device you're going to control down here. So as soon as you come down and click on, see where it says fader 1, it's immediately going to change to start. So it's corresponding to the entry you made up here. So as far as what device we're using, this was for transport. So click on device where it says VST mixer, and you see you have all of these different items here. So when you choose them, it opens up a whole other realm of options for whatever it is that you're looking to add. So for this, let's do transport. The channel category, you just click that, just choose device. And then for value action, once you click here, since we already said, okay, we're looking to add a transport device, it's going to add all the applicable controls that would correspond to your transport. So like I said, we just did the basic simple transport on our Lemur template right now. So we're just going to go here, and start is the first one that we chose. So now the good thing about this, and you know, there's lots of trial and error that went into when I was building my own template. If you're not sure where a particular command is, or what, you know, where it might be, you know, the good thing is that for each device or area you choose, you know, rather than scroll through, you know, you could just type in what you're looking for. So like here we choose start, and then I pulled it off, but start's already at the top. So we choose start. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit apply and okay. So let's test it out. So right now I got my hand on the template that we just created. So I'm working around on my iPad here. So let's go ahead and hit start on the transport. Boom, there you go. So automatically all set up. So very cool, that works. So now let's go back to device, and we'll do the next one together, and then I'll just fill in the rest of the transport for you so you don't have to wait and watch me do each one. So we did start, so the next one obviously is going to be stop. So I'll just type in stop. Same thing, MIDI status controller. We're going to change channel to 1. And the address, the CC command that we assigned to stop was 116. All right, so we got our first line set up. Come down here, click on this second line. Automatically sets itself to stop to correspond to the second line up here. Same thing, device. We're going to change to transport. For channel category, we're going to choose device. And then under value action, stop, which is actually the next one there. So we're going to hit apply. Okay, let's go back. Let's test it out. So now we have start and stop activated on our remote to correspond with our Lemur. So let's hit start. All right, cool. There goes our playhead. And then hit stop. We're all set. Hit stop again. Brings us back to the beginning. Awesome. So first two commands working flawlessly. No issues. So I'll just go back into our generic remote here. I'll add the next few from the transport controls, and I'll just skip ahead. So like I said, you guys don't have to watch me do each single one. All right, so now our entire bottom transport section there is done. As you can see, I just added them, the subsequent commands, just as I did with start and stop, which we did together, and then they correspond down at the bottom here. Same idea. One thing I actually neglected to say when we were filling these out on the editor before, for cycle command and click command, you actually want to set these up as switches versus pads. Reason why is switch, it's like an on or off switch basically. So if we just had this as pad, it wouldn't stay on. It would just go on and off really quick. So if you have it as switch, it actually turns the object on. So for cycle, you want to obviously leave cycle on after you hit that button, and same for your metronome click. So let's show you that'll make sense when we come back over here. All right, and just taking a look quick at the bottom, see with snap was not part of the transport controls, but up here still the same. Snap, MIDI status controller, everything on channel 1 corresponds to MIDI CC 109. Then when we come to the bottom here, we have snap. Instead of the transport device, this is actually a command that we're choosing. Okay. Under channel category, snap belongs mainly to the edit commands, and value action we chose is snap on, snap off to correspond to that button. So I'm sorry I don't have an easier way to show you where you would find every little single piece of what you'd want to do. All I could say is all the commands are in there. So if you want to find something in particular, you might have to search around a bit for it. But so far, so good. Everything's set up here. So let's hit apply, go to the back here, and let's make sure everything's working on the bottom transport section of the Lemur. So we got play, very good. Stop, we know. Let's try metronome click. Beautiful, that works. Turn it off, stop. We got record working good. Everything's good there. We got fast forward, rewind. Then obviously here's our snap button up here. Hit snap on, snap off. Everything's good. All right, so everything is working perfectly from what we set up in Lemur for the bottom transport section. So let's go back to devices now, and what I'll do is I'll just going to go ahead and add all those additional controls. I said I won't make you wait. I'll just go ahead and input those, and then we'll check them out when it's done. All right, so I went ahead and added all the rest of the controls to the generic remote. So as you can see, up, down, left, right, zoom in, out, zoom in and out vertically, add audio track, MIDI, instrument track, open editor, and mixer. And then, like I said, everything is going through MIDI channel 1 with the corresponding CC that we programmed into the Lemur template. And then when you come down into this level here, all the things that we added have the corresponding device, which they're all commands. The category that they fall under, so up, down, left, and right, is part of the navigate feature. Zoom in, out, zoom in vertical, zoom out vertical. It's part of the zoom category, and then corresponding command. And then all your add audio, MIDI, and instrument tracks are part of the add tracks, and open editor, part of the edit feature, and mixer, part of the device. So we've got everything added. So let's go back and make sure everything works. So why don't we try, let's add, let's see, an audio track. Beautiful, works. Let's add MIDI track. Great, works. Add an instrument track. Works. And let's see here. Why don't we just try and we'll hit record just so we could test the zoom features. All right, and then let's see, zoom in vertical, zoom out vertical, zoom out horizontal, zoom in horizontal. Great. So all those things that we added in on the Lemur editor are working. And then obviously the navigate arrows, everything's working good. So very simple. As you can see, all those commands that we just put in, some basic simple commands, everything is working fine, some of what we see here. So what we'll do now is we'll move over to the fun and interesting part, which is getting our virtual instruments to correspond with the Lemur template. And what we're going to use for this particular tutorial is the 3 Albions. So from the fantastic developer Spitfire. So we'll have Albion 1, 2, and 3. and I'm going to go ahead and create an instrument track with 2 corresponding MIDI tracks. So we have an Albion 1, 2, and 3. We're going to go to the Lemur template. We'll program in some visual key switches, as well as dynamic, expression, volume control, and speed knobs for the MIDI faders. So we'll I'm just going to go ahead, set those up in time here, and then we'll pull over the Lemur editor again so we could build those so that they can correspond to the instrument tracks. All right, so let's get started. All right, guys, so here we are back at the template here. So before we move over to the key switches, why don't we set up our MIDI faders first that are going to correspond to the 3 Albions. So to get it working on the editor, click on MIDI faders. And what we're going to do is just come on over to our objects panel over here, and let's just pull out, let's find fader here. Okay, so we're just going to drag this into this container. And here we have our first fader. So we got a pretty decent amount of room. So let's go ahead and just drag this down. So we got like a nice big broad range for them. So like I said, we'll create 4 of them. We'll do dynamics, expression, MIDI volume, and then I guess legato speed we can do. So for this, just click on this. So when you come back up to the target here, again, these are all going to be going to MIDI target 1. This is going to be CC. And this is mod wheel or dynamics. So you're going to choose 1, CC1. And you really don't have to do anything down here. I mean, you can, if you really start getting deep into your faders, you can apply the physics as to how quickly you want it to react and, you know, how fast you want it to go. As you can see, like I said, this is synced, so you can see my finger moving up and down on this dynamic wheel here. So here is our fader number 1. Now, so we know what it is. You get like this little text object over here too. So let me just find it. So let's just drag this in. So let's just shape it down. Bring it in so it fits on top here. So then just click on the text object. Under properties, you know, the text name, you can just type it in right here. We'll call this dynamics. All right. Like I said, we're not going crazy spending time doing colors and everything else, making it all symmetrically perfect. So let's just go ahead and I'm going to just copy and paste this fader object 3 more times so that we have our 4 faders, and then I'll just go ahead and program those to the applicable CCs that match up with Albion, and I'll just skip ahead so, like I said, you don't have to watch me do each one. All right, so I just created 4 faders, 1 for dynamics or mod wheel, expression, general MIDI volume, and speed. So for each of these, like I said, it's MIDI target 1, expression MIDI target 1, 11 for your CC, volume is CC 7, and then speed I just put on CC 15. All going to MIDI target 1. I made them a little bit bigger since we had the room, and then I highlighted the text in yellow so it pulled through on the blue a little bit better. So before we go to the key switches, let's just see how this works. So let's go back into Cubase. I have my Albion set up here. So right now I'm on Albion 1 with the longs patch selected. So here's your dynamic, expression, and your speed sliders. So as you can check, I'm just moving along right now. And my volume control. So you have so everything's corresponding good as far as the MIDI faders go with Albion. So let's go back over to the editor now. So very simple. You see, literally 2 seconds to set those up. So now we're going to make one more container over here. So we're going to call it Albion 1, Albion 2, and Albion 3. And in each of the menus, we're going to make, let's just say for the sake of time, we'll make 3 key switches. that are going to correspond to the multi-patches, the big multi-Albion patches that we're looking at over in Cubase. And you'll see how much of an enormous benefit it is to be able to do this. So let's bring another container object over into our editor. Let's shape it up. So you can see it's very quick and easy to do this once you get used to its operation. Bring this down. Before we totally shape it, let's do add tab, make tabbed. Okay. So for this one, which is labeled default, let's just find it over here. We'll title this Albion 1. Sorry if you hear cars whizzing behind me there. Got the windows open here. It's a beautiful spring day in New York today. Gotta take advantage. Right click and let's do add tab. We'll call the next one Albion 2 or Lemur. And let's add one more tab and we'll call it Albion 3 or Iceni. All right, so now we have another container object created with tabs for Albion 1, Albion 2, and Albion 3. So let's just click over on Albion 1. So like I said, we'll create 3 key switches. How about we'll do one for shorts, we'll do one for longs, and then we'll do one for legato. So I'll go ahead and create those objects real quick. Like I said, I won't make you wait, and then we'll just look at how those are programmed in the template here when we're done. All right, so I just set up some quick, massive key switches. Again, not symmetrically correct, just to correspond to Albion 1 and Albion 2. We don't have to do 3. You'll get the idea just off of these. So the difference between setting up a key switch versus a command that we've been doing with everything else here is that, so for instance, this one we set up shorts, and again, I just set all of these up using the custom buttons, bringing them out, and then, just shaping them up. So for this one for shorts, if you look over here, the message is set to note on. Very important. So it's actually going to transmit note through MIDI CC. Again, it's set up to your MIDI target 1. And now the pitch, this is the important part. These correspond to the octave on the keyboard, in this case for contact. Pitch 24 is equivalent to C-2, so 2 octaves below middle C. So if I go ahead and bring this up, here you see we have Albion 1 at the top here. If I click on my shorts button, you can see right on the keyboard it's corresponding to C-2 all the way down there. Okay, which is obviously the way the key switches are set up is corresponding to shorts. So again, while we're here, we'll just take a look at it. So we had shorts, longs, and legato, and nice big writing. So here's our shorts. We can go ahead and just click on longs. And I'm using my MIDI fader. Oh, accidentally hit on add audio track there. Sorry. And then if we wanted to click on legato, while using the faders. So everything you would really need is right in front of your face as far as Lemur goes. All these objects, the key switches that I set up, they all just correspond right along to the note that would need to be hit to trigger the articulation. So, I've talked a lot, especially with my musical colleagues, about how groundbreaking Lemur has been for myself, just as far as efficiency goes, and it's a much added elegance to what you're looking at on a beautiful iPad screen. So visual key switches really brings an entirely new dimension to me as far as these great, multi all-in-one inclusive articulation patches that we have with a lot of our sample libraries that are coming out today with our developers. So I mean, that'll just show you really quick, which as far as constructing it goes, it didn't take us that long at all to build all of this. And what I want to do now, just before we kind of shut things down, is I'll pull up my current template just so you can see how deep you can go. So let me just get this down and I'll pull it up so you could see. All right, guys, so here is the evolving template that I've been building on for Lemur for quite a long time now. And I have pretty much all of my main VIs that I use, especially ones that utilize a heavy amount of key switching and a MIDI CC control. I've created tabs for them in my template as it is. So before, what we were just looking at, and this is a good point to bring up as well, we were working on pretty much one page of that project. If you wanted to create an additional page, as you can see on the side here, I just have all of my pretty much instruments set up. You know, I got the Albions, cinematic strings, all my Adagio bundle with all their key switchings and everything else in between. And if you wanted to create an entirely new page, all you necessarily have to do is just click on any one of these, just hit Control-C and Control-V, and it'll actually see where it says Symphonia 2 now. It'll create an entirely new page for you on top of your Lemur template. You can't see it on here, but on the iPad, it has a tab at the very top of the screen, and it just corresponds to all of these names. So you can just constantly just keep building on it and creating more containers and basically just putting anything you could ever possibly need. So if you could see, just here, you know, we're looking at my own personal Albion template, all the different containers that I have just on one page. So here, you know, you have my MIDI faders. I've added track visibility, which corresponds to Cubase 7.5. I've got additional transport controls on top of, you know, the Albion, Iceni, Laguerre. I have MIDI editor controls here, basically just the functions that I would use on a day-to-day basis most. And then even on the project page here, you know, I've got my navigations, all my different added tracks, opening editors, markers, quantizing, what have you. So the reason I wanted to kind of do this tutorial the way that we did was just so that one of the great things about Lemur is it's so customizable and so easy to use that you basically will just build it for what your needs are. For me personally, as far as media composing goes, you know, this is how I really have been able to maximize my workflow by the way all this was set up. And all I've really done here on each of these tabs is just compound on what we just talked about earlier, just building that basic starter template. I caught myself. Just one other note. If you noticed when I hit record earlier, this is one switch where you do want to set it up as a switch versus pad. That's why the screen kind of glitched a little bit, just if you noticed that. So sorry, I just wanted to interject that quick. But this is it. I mean, hopefully this gives you an idea of just how amazing this platform is and how this really can push you forward as far as efficiency, and you don't have to worry about all the little things when you're recording because it'll just be right in front of your face here. Like I said, I cannot overemphasize enough the benefit of having visual key switches so that you can actually read, and it's nice and big and bright, and you could see it as you're playing. You don't have to memorize things. It's just all out there, and it's so easy to set up, just as you know we had noticed before. So I really hope you guys found this helpful. It's a bit long, so I do apologize for that, but it can be a very daunting application when you first get into it. So I tried to demystify it as best that I can here in this tutorial. So please feel free to comment, leave any advice or things that you'd like to maybe discuss a little bit further. I'd be happy to discuss that with you. If you'd like to check out my music, head on over to my SoundCloud page, which I have right here. Sorry, it's been a long day of talking. And feel free to also connect with me on Facebook or Twitter if you'd like. I'd always like to reach out and network and meet new people, new musicians. So Definitely, thanks so much for taking the time to go through this with me here. Again, hope you found it helpful and see how amazing Lemur can be for you and your music within your DAW. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.